Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Saturday, April 9th. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. The spring game is in 7 days, the Notre Dame game in 147 days, the game against Michigan in 231 days. Yes, we are indeed just 1 week away from the spring game. That means a lot of things. For one, there are just 4 more practices left, and we're also getting to the end of the positional interviews with Buckeye players. Today we're going to be hearing from the linebackers. That is a unit that's seen a whole lot of change since this time last year. New coordinator, new position coach, a couple of guys have transferred out, others have changed positions, and they've added guys both through the transfer portal and also as recruits, not to mention a little bit of a scheme change. So yes, there is a ton to talk about with the linebackers. Today, you're going to be hearing from some guys you probably haven't heard from in a while, if ever, which is also always kind of fun. So, as always, these clips are courtesy of the Ohio State University Athletics Department. And we're going to start with Steele Chambers. This time last year, he was a running back. Now he's back not only as a projected starter at linebacker, but also one of the veteran voices in that linebacker room. And he's also not the only former running back in there. Chip Trayanum transferred from Arizona State, where he was a running back, to Ohio State, where now he's playing linebacker. So what was Chambers able to tell him about making that position switch in the middle of your college career?
Right now we're just all relying on each other with like getting the plays down and stuff. What he's been doing is pretty crazy. I mean, going straight from running back to defense and then learning this complex structure we have, what he's doing is pretty crazy. And then, I mean, he's just one of the most physically gifted guys on the team. So even if he doesn't know what he's doing, like a lot of us don't, sometimes he's just able to just find the ball just based on pure athleticism.
Last year in that linebacker room, there were a lot of young guys playing for the first time, whether that's due to injuries or just attrition. There were a lot of guys playing meaningful minutes at linebacker for the first time in their college careers. So how big a difference is it now that they have a year under their belt? They have a lot of returning players, even if it is a new scheme.
I think that's huge, just even seeing it in spring ball. Just guys, like, I know, off the top of my head, I know me, like Tommy, Rocket, we are all guys that just really starting to get into our roles last year. And, I mean, we're kind of tiptoeing around sometimes, but now it's just we start to understand exactly what we're doing. We can just go. Just get that experience under us.
Jim Knowles has talked a lot this year about the fact that this spring is more about learning than it is so about competition. They're just trying to get stuff installed at this point. So what has that meant from Chambers' perspective?
We have learned a lot. It is, it's pretty amazing how much that he's put in through 10 practices now. At first, I was kind of pissed that we were doing all this stuff because, I mean, I just wanted to get out there and play, and we're putting in all these plays. But now, just kind of taking a step back and realizing what he's done to this defense, it's pretty outstanding.
You probably didn't have to listen very hard to hear a little bit of frustration in his voice and in his words there, at times. So what is it that was so frustrating to him this spring as they tried to get that new defense installed?
It's just, I mean, we would go one day, we'd run like a batch of plays. Next day, you put in like 10 plays, and then we go out and run all those plays again. If you don't get it right, get yelled at. I mean, that happens. So, I mean, it's just constantly just stacking. But, I mean, he's told us, like, what the process is. Sooner or later, we're going to have all that down. Then once we get to game time, we really shorten it up. Just start focusing in on what we have that week. He's flooding us in, it's a lot of it.
The linebackers are seeing a lot of Jim Knowles this spring. He is, of course, not only the defensive coordinator, but also oversees those linebackers. So what is it like working with him so much?
It's kind of stressful, I'd say, like in film. It makes fun of us a lot. That's all I love. But, I mean, it's stressful because, I mean, he's top dog. He's really calling the shots. And, I mean, he's also telling you, like, what kind of technique you got to have where. So, I mean, it's nice because, I mean, he's kind of just, like, the main head, and you're always with him 24/7.
Now, as crazy as it might sound, Chambers is one of the veterans in that linebacker room right now. I mean, think about it. This time last year, he's playing running back. Now he's like one of the veteran voices in there. So how does he think those newer players in there are doing? Like true freshmen C.J. Hicks and Gabe Powers.
They're students of the game, man. I love those guys. I mean, they're coming in, doing extra tape and everything, looking over practice, asking questions to all the old guys. I know I wouldn't do that. I was shy as hell whenever I was little. But, I mean, they're just great players, smart as hell. I mean, they're just flying around. Sometimes you don't know what to do, but they're still just making plays.
So that'll do it for Steele Chambers. Now, one of the other younger guys in that room is Reid Carrico. Now, he took a redshirt season last year and is now just one of a bunch of linebackers fighting for very few spots. They are playing a 4-2-5 defense, which means usually just 2 linebackers on the field at a time. So how do you get on the field with so many guys and so few snaps? You're going to hear a couple of his answers back to back here, just kind of combined together.
Oh, I mean, what it all boils down to is you got to have something that sets you apart from everyone else. So I just came in here every day in the winter, no matter what time it was. It was the early group, late group, didn't matter. You know, I tried to bring it. I wanted to have a gold off season or winter conditioning, and you know, you just got. I don't know how to put it. Besides, you got to bring it every day. If you want to find a role, you know. You got to do something to stand out. Like you can't have a bunch of cookie cutters at linebacker. You got to have some diversity in what people can do, and I think that I can play the Sam role. I think that I can rush off the edge or whatever it may be. You know, whatever this Sam thing leads to. We only got just a couple calls right now. So.
You heard him talk there about the Sam linebackers. Now, those are typically bigger guys who are the third linebacker in this defense who are not going to be on the field in that base package, that base 4-2-5. They're mostly going to play against teams that run 2 tight end sets, so like a Wisconsin or an Iowa. Carrico said he's not only working with the Sams, but he's also at the will position on the other side, one of those 2 kind of main linebacker spots in this defense. So how does he balance not wanting to be cookie cutter, like he talked about earlier, with also kind of needing to fit in the mold of what the Buckeyes are looking for in a linebacker? I thought he had a pretty good explanation of that here.
Well, I can kind of clear that statement up. You want to be a cookie cutter as far as the culture goes. You know, you got to give great effort. You got to be a good tackler. You got to put the silver bullets first. And then, personally, you know, when it comes to finding a niche or a role, you got to have something that sets you apart. So, you know, like Tommy Eichenberg. Tommy Eichenberg knows the game just about front to back. He makes mistakes, but he's very sharp. You know, Steele comes up big in third down packages, you know, makes plays. Like last year, played a couple screens perfectly on third down, you know, things like that. I mean, it's just, you got to have something that the DC or your position coach or whoever sees in you that you can do well, and they'll find a place for you.
Now on to Teradja Mitchell. He started last season by being named a captain, but then it kind of went the wrong direction for him in a lot of ways. He sort of lost playing time during the year, and he told us earlier in the week there was a lot going on there, but it sounds like he's really committed to sticking things out at Ohio State.
It was difficult for sure. Many don't know. I had some life-changing situations happen in my life off the field, and it kind of played a role in a lot of things, but it was challenging, but I'm staying true to the process. I love this program. I love everything about this program, and I'm excited for this season.
We mentioned earlier that a lot has changed from last season in that linebacker room. New defensive coordinator, new position coach. They've also gone from having just a handful of healthy players at the end of last season to one of the deepest units on the team this spring.
It's definitely a change. Like I said, glad to have guys. We all back, and like I said, we've been working for this thing for a long time. And let's make it happen. That's our mindset. Let's make it happen. And with the new defense, let's master the defense and do whatever it takes to win a national championship. Be a top 5 defense in the country.
Last up for the linebackers is Palaie Gaoteote. He has been working all over this spring at all 3 linebacker spots, plus that jack position on the defensive line. What has it been like for him to work with Jim Knowles so far?
Everything's detailed. Rather than looking at the big picture type of things, it's very detailed and taking the grand scheme of things and like minimizing it into one little thing. So definitely working with Coach Knowles is definitely detailed. Everything is detailed.
Gaoteote, or EA as players and coaches call him, has had a long and winding path through college football. He showed up at USC as a 5-star recruit, got on the field right away as a freshman, looked like a real impact player, and then had significant injuries in each of his first 3 seasons there. By the time he transferred to Ohio State last summer, it kind of felt like he was just sort of still chasing the expectations from his recruiting rankings. And then he had more health issues last fall. So does he still feel like he's chasing now that he's entering year 5?
Oh, no, I've always been chasing, you know, I've always been the underdog, I've always been the one down, I've always been working this hard for my whole life, so it's nothing new. I definitely think, like, you know, where my career started, it definitely hasn't ended, and that same mentality that I had at the beginning is the same I have right now.
There's obviously been a lot of talk about the changes that Jim Knowles is bringing to the defense this year. So what is the main job of the linebackers under Jim Knowles' system? How would EA boil that down to just kind of a simple explanation of what is a linebacker's main job in Jim Knowles' system?
Honestly, just to plug where the water leaks. kind of just fitting off the D lineman, and in the past, just trying to have that foosball spacement, just having good alignment, good spacing in the pass game, and, you know, just plugging where the water leaks.
Well, we are now just 1 week away from that spring game. There are still tickets available. You can get those at ohiostatebuckeyes.com. They're just $7 a pop if you are interested in taking your kids or just heading out to the Horseshoe. The weather right now, we're still a week out, but the weather looks like it should be pretty decent. It's generally a fun Saturday, a good time to get outside and enjoy a nice spring day and enjoy a little Ohio State football. Maybe do a little tailgating. A little tailgating never hurt anyone. So if you are interested in doing that, you can get tickets at ohiostatebuckeyes.com. And whether you're going to the game or not, we will have plenty of coverage this week in the lead up to that game. Lots of stuff to talk about, lots of interesting storylines. Always exciting to see some of the guys that are new that you're getting the chance to see for the first time. Maybe guys who are switching positions, guys who've just transferred in, all that stuff, all those fun storylines to watch. We'll be talking about them all week long here and on all of our other great podcasts. Kevin Noon does the Big Meat Kickoff. Alex Gleitman does Around the Oval. Bill the Bank Green and Mark Givler do Gives in the Bank. Tony Gerderman and I do Buckeye Weekly. You can find all of them wherever you're finding this. Just search for Buckeye Scoop. You can find them all there. Subscribe. Leave us a 5-star rating and review as well, which will help other folks find those shows. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.